Welcome back, students. I was doing The Night of the Scorpion by Nissim Ezekiel with you. It is quite a long poem of almost 50 lines, and we have the time constraints of the videos, so I had to cut it off before I could finish it because it had already gone beyond the prerequisite time of 15 to 20 minutes. So I have done quite a bit with you. Here I have done this portion where we had discussed how the scorpion had bitten the poet's mother and how he is recalling that event that had happened all those years ago when he was a child, and how the people came to help him and his mother to manage with the scorpion bite. I think I had ended till here. Yeah, the first line here. Sorry, let me just quickly read this again. May the poison purify your flesh of desire and your spirit of ambition, they said, and they sat around on the floor with my mother in the center, the peace of understanding on each face. So here I had ended till here, uh, and I had explained to you how there were so many neighbors who had come to know about this incident, and they had come to somehow help the mother. But the poet observes that it's more of superstition that comes across through the through the words that he overheard when all the people, they either talked about how if the scorpion does not move, then the poison will not move in the body, or how this pain that she is suffering is going to negate all the wrongdoings that she may have done in her previous birth, or how this pain is going to be kind of a lesson for her, so that all kind of desires and ambitions may be driven out of her heart. Then he goes on to tell us that how this news further spread and more people joined in. More candles, more lanterns, more neighbors, more insects, and the endless rain. So you can see, besides the scorpion, the rain is also, has an important role to play. Because it's because of the rains that the scorpion had taken refuge inside the storeroom, and it was because of that that the mother got bitten. And had it not been raining, most probably, then the scorpion wouldn't have entered the storeroom, and this whole incident had would not have taken place. So, therefore, this repetition of the idea of the falling rain and how the people come despite the falling rain, there are people who are coming from the neighboring areas, and they are pouring in. Just like on one hand, it is the rain that is pouring, on the other hand, it is these people who are pouring inside their homes. And so much of rain, so much of lanterns and candle light, it is attracting a lot of insects also. So there is a kind of parallel between the falling rain, the gathering of the people, and the gathering of the insects. So it's almost as if the poet is trying to say that the insects and the human beings, he's putting them at the on the same plane. It's kind of highlighting that the way the insects gather during the rainfall, the same way the people are gathering to observe this incident. I hope you can get the irony, what the poet is trying to hint at by comparing the human beings to insects. The way the insects gather around the candlelight, in the same manner, these people are gathering around his mother, who's lying on the ground. So, this imagery is rather ironical, and it is a kind of comment that the poet is trying to, uh, you know. Uh, trying to kind of, as I said previously, draw a parallel between these two things. Then, moving on, now the attention shifts from the neighbors and the falling rain and the insects to the mother. Now, what is happening to the mother? My mother twisted through and through, groaning on a mat. Now here, almost more than 50% of the poem is over. Now we actually come to see that there is some movement in the body of the mother, and she is twisting on the mat. As in the villages, usually people lie down on the ground. So here also a mat has been laid, and the lady is lying on the mat, and slowly she is gaining consciousness. And as she gains consciousness, the pain of the scorpion sting is now felt by her, and therefore she groans in pain. My father, skeptic, rationalist, trying every curse and blessing, powder, mixture, herb, and hybrid. After this, for the first time now, we have the father who is being described as a skeptic, a rationalist. Now, please understand this is again drawing a contrast between the villagers and the father. Who's a skeptic? Who's a rationalist? Those people who do not believe in any kind of superstitions. Earlier, it is all the villagers who are talking, about the common beliefs. They are sharing whatever they know, and it all hints that how superstitious these people are. Now, in comparison to these people, apparently, the poet's father was a rationalist. Now, who are rationalists? Those people who do not believe in religion, who do not believe in any kind of superstitions, who believe that everything has to be thought about analytically, has to be discussed before believed. There has to be proof, there has to be a scientific basis. So his father was not a believer, and uh, but at the same time, his father too trying every curse and blessing. Now look at this: when you become desperate, now, this is like a two-way comment that the poet is, making here, because he says, on one hand, he says his father is a skeptic and a non-believer and a rationalist, and on the other hand, he says trying every curse and blessing. So, what happens when you are in a desperate situation? Your rationality is put aside, and you also start praying to God or to any power who might be able to save your beloved or your near and dear one or your family members. Okay. I have a very interesting incident to share here. One of my uncles, he was also a rationalist. He's no longer alive, but he was a scientist, and he worked for the Baba Atomic Research Center, Bombay. And he used to fly very often. Very often, he had to, fly to Vienna for different, meetings and conferences, etc. And he was one person who really did not believe in God. And uh, once my husband had gone to see him off at the airport, and uh, you know my uncle, he also, before boarding the flight, he kind of sent up a short prayer. सो माई हस्बैंड क्विकली आस्क्ड हिम कि अंकल, आप तो नहीं विश्वास करते इन सब चीज़ों में, तो आप क्यों प्रेयर कर रहे हो अभी फ्लाई करने से पहले? तो ही वेरी स्वीटली लाफिंगली ही आंसर्ड कि वैसे तो मैं मानता नहीं हूँ, लेकिन क्या पता ऊपर कोई ऐसी कोई बला हो तो आई बला को टाल दूँ, इसलिए सेफ साइड कर ही देता हूँ. You're getting the point. So, this is an actual happening, and here I'm sharing it with you because just to explain to you that the father who is a rationalist, but because at this point of time, his wife has been bitten by a scorpion and she is suffering, therefore he resorts to even praying. He curses the scorpion and he prays to God. He kind of is wants her to be blessed by whichever power is there, so that she is cured of her pain. Then because he is a rationalist, so he does use mixtures, and he uses different powders, herbs, and he mixes up. Hybrid means mixture, mixture of different things and producing something new, that is hybrid. So he tries all medicines also. He's doing everything that he can in order to save his wife, in order to cure his wife, in order to lessen the pain that his wife is suffering. Then he even poured a little paraffin upon the bitten toe and put a match to it. Now look at this. That the last resort, that maybe somebody has told him, or maybe he has an idea. So he puts a paraffin. Paraffin wo jo wax hota hai. He puts that on that bite and he lights it up also. hoping that the poison is sucked out when the paraffin is lit, when it is burnt. Then along with the flame, the poison will also exit his wife's body. So you can see the poet is observing everything, what the villagers are doing, how his mother is suffering, what his father is doing. He's observing everything and he's noting it down. I watched the flame feeding on my mother. So it's almost as if, when somebody dies and you burn the body, and the flame becomes bigger and bigger, and the body is burnt. So that kind of an image comes to your mind. But here he says that I watched the flame feeding on my mother. The flame maybe became bigger. It was, that wax was melting, and along with the melting wax, maybe the flame was becoming bigger. And it seems as if the flame is feeding on his mother's body, because it's at the tip of her foot. The big toe perhaps has been bitten, and there that paraffin has been put. And the poet feels all this, and he mentions it. I watched the holy man perform his rites to tame the poison with an incantation. And now here's another instance, maybe a panditji, or maybe a tantric, or some god man has been brought here by somebody, and he is also doing his best. He's lit up some, you have that havan kind of a thing. Maybe he's performing that kind of a rite, and all those rituals are being performed by this holy man, so that the poison can, be removed, or the poison does not affect his mother. So whatever could be done at that point of time, that all is being done at different levels. And interestingly, you will note that the doctor has not arrived. So this is the reality. Maybe in the villages you don't have a doctor 24-hour medical facility, because there is no mention of a doctor whatsoever. Everybody is trying their level best as per their knowledge, as per whatever is available to them. So everything was tried, and then after 20 hours it lost its sting. So finally all the efforts have been put in by the different people, and whatever they knew, whatever their knowledge or beliefs directed them to do, that is what they did. And finally, after 20 hours, the poison's effect is reduced. So after 20 hours, it lost its sting. So whose sting? The scorpion sting. And lost its sting would mean that finally the effect of the poison diminished, it reduced. The mother maybe came back to her senses. She regained consciousness, and she sat up. And from here, there is an abrupt change. You can see on your screens there's a big gap between this line and the next line, because here one set of activities, one continuous narrative regarding what the people did when the mother was unconscious comes to an end. What the poet notices, all that he has written down. And it is interesting to note that the poet has not put in a single, what would you say? I would not say effort, but I would say he has not done any action. He has not done anything whatsoever. He's just been standing there being a non participant. He is just an observer. As I use the word, the most appropriate word is detached. He has that detached attitude. He's just not doing any action whatsoever. He's just noting, he's just noticing, he's just drawing parallels. And whatever he experienced, whatever he observed, whatever he understood, all that he carried with him all these years, and finally he put them down all on paper. And that is how this poem was born, right? Now you see the last three lines, the concluding lines, is a comment upon how the mother reacts to this whole situation. You have seen the reaction of the poet, you've seen the reaction of the villagers, you've seen the reaction of the father, and now you see the reaction of the person who herself has been bitten by the scorpion. What does she say? Finally, when she gets up, when she regains consciousness, what are her words? My mother only said, "Thank God the scorpion picked on me and spared my children." So, this is a very telling statement. This is a very common reaction of any mother. If a problem befalls upon the family, the parents, especially the mother, always says that please, whatever problems have to come, let them come to me, but please spare my children. So that sentiment is, a kind of, it's a complete turning. It's like an the whole mood changes. You can see initially the first part of the poem is all about, so much of chatter, so much of activity going on, so many things at multiple levels. We, are told about so many different things, and what the poet feels about this whole thing, what his attitude is towards the villagers, how he observes his father, what is his feeling towards all this, that we can perceive. And in the last three lines, we also perceive what the poet has observed about his mother. And it is a very common, natural sentiment that a parent, especially the mother, has towards her children: total love, total care, total protective attitude that a parent has, a mother has, that is reflected here. She's forgotten about her pain. She's forgotten about how the scorpion bit her. She's forgotten about, those 20 painful hours. And all she has to say is, she's not talking about her pain. She's not talking about how she, was bitten by the scorpion, how for 20 hours she had lost consciousness, how she had to undergo all the, that movement of that poison in her body, which caused so much of pain to her. Nothing. All she has to say is just one single line, that thankfully the scorpion bit me and not my children. My children were spared. Right? So you can see how the poet has traced one night of the scorpion, and how many different things we are, introduced to, how many different ideas we have been introduced to, and how a basic, plethora of emotions, the concept of a village life has come across, and the common beliefs we have been introduced to, the different reactions we are made aware of, and how the poet is kind of, a commentator upon this whole incident, upon that whole night, and what he has to say about his mother. Everything we come to know in these 48 lines. So I hope the poem is clear. And please, you can see in line number 45, line number 43, line number 41, and so on and so forth. You'll see that the words that are used are not the first word that has been used. The letter is not a capital, which indicates a continuation of the line. And you can see from the top to bottom that so much of, a continuous, um, connectivity is there from one line to the other, and there are it's not necessary that every line is starting with a capital letter, or every third line. There's no scheme as such. And you can see everywhere in between, you can see the first line has got small letters, words beginning with small letters, which is what I had explained to you, that there is a sense of continuation that is being depicted even through the form of the poem, the format of the poem. I'll be sharing the questions very soon. I hope the poem is clear to you, and I think very soon we are going to meet, because the colleges are reopening, and I'm looking forward to meeting all of you. Till then, please stay safe, take care, see you. Bye bye.